This is Dr. Edith Ubuntu Chan. Welcome to the Dr. E Show, a show exploring the frontiers of our human possibilities in areas like health and wellness, science and spirituality, quantum biology, and conscious living, so that together we can awaken the best of ourselves and create our most joyful and fulfilling lives. Recently, a lot of friends in our community have been coming in sharing that they feel kind of stuck in a rut. Now, the good news is, as we all grow and learn and evolve, we now have a much higher level of awareness. We're aware of these old patterns that don't serve us, right? We're aware that it's time to change, it's time to break free. But maybe we're not quite sure how. Have you been feeling like that? Whenever I have a big question like that, needing answers or inspiration, I go for a beautiful nature walk. During these walks, I receive a lot of guidance and answers and insights. And this webinar I'm about to share with you today, titled Full Spectrum Living, was one such download that came on one of these nature walks. Full Spectrum Living is a body of work that's still developing within me and will likely become the subject of our next book. So today, I wanted to give you a sneak preview of this idea of full spectrum living and why it's essential for our personal growth. Enjoy! Hey everybody, welcome to this month's Super Wellness Live webinar. I've got a really important question for you. Does it ever feel like you're stuck in a rut? Do you feel like you're stuck in your work or your relationships or a certain pattern in your family dynamic or in your health? Well, if you do, I've got really good news for you because tonight's call is all about how to get ourselves unstuck out of these ruts. That's the funny thing. Last month's call, we talked about how there's so much chaos and upheaval. Tonight's call is inspired by a lot of my clients also tell me there's chaos and upheaval, but at the same time, people are catching themselves, repeating old patterns that don't serve. We know there are all these old patterns in our lives that we need to shed and let go of and heal and move beyond and transcend to a much higher, more joyful, more exciting, more beautiful way of life. But sometimes we feel stuck and we don't know how to get unstuck. So tonight's call is what I call full spectrum living. What does that mean? If you have a look at your life, I want to encourage you to really think about your life because I just came back from an epic week of traveling with a weekend workshop with my good friend Wim Hof. Wim Hof is a 26 times Guinness World Record holder who is known for his seemingly superhuman possibilities of dunking his body in a tank of ice up to almost 2 hours. And he has such ability to adapt to extreme conditions that he can do that for an hour and 56 minutes with no change in his core body temperature. He teaches this powerful breathwork technology that allows us to also access this ability to adapt to all the ups and downs of life without being fazed by it. So his record is that he's able to put himself in these extreme conditions without his physiology being thrown out of balance. So imagine that, dunking yourself in a tank of ice for almost 2 hours, and through the power of mental training, consciousness, and breath training, he's able to stay completely balanced and unfazed by that kind of extreme condition. And so now scientists have been doing tons of studies and they've discovered that actually this combination, his method is this combination of breathwork training, cold training, as well as mental training, allows a lot of really interesting possibilities that we've forgotten. So he talks about how human beings are designed to be strong, healthy, and happy. But a lot of what put us in trouble is that we are never too hot, never too cold, so we've lost our ability to naturally thermoregulate. And someone like Wim Hof comes along and shows us, hey, we've actually forgotten our natural capacities because our modern lifestyle is so damn comfortable all the time. If we're too hot, we turn on the AC. If we're too cold, we put on a jacket and crank up the heat. So we don't give our body the stimuli to train this adaptability. So interesting, because in our 6-week super wellness course, almost everybody that I ask when we contemplate deeply about what is the definition of health, a lot of times we have a half hour, full hour discussion. And at the end of the discussion, almost always people come up with a really beautiful definition of health, which is not the absence of disease or illness or injury, but really health is our capacity to adapt to the stressors of life. Isn't it true? I don't know a single healthy person who has never been injured, never been stressed out, never been a little sick. That doesn't exist. But healthy people, tell me if you guys agree. Click a little thumbs up if you agree. A healthy person isn't someone that never gets sick or never gets injured. A healthy person is the one that is able to adapt to the ups and downs of life, to bounce back quickly, and to be even stronger after bouncing back from this kind of stimuli in life, right? So what's fascinating with the Wim Hof method training is that now there's been all these scientific studies. A few have already been published, but getting to hang out with Wim Hof, I found out that there's like 8 or 9 more fascinating studies that are in the pipeline being designed, or it's a little bit stealth, so some things he can't really talk about yet, but I'm super excited to follow this journey where we discover that through training our ability to thermoregulate, to meet the intensities of life from the state of a calm, centered state where we focus on our breath, that as a side effect of that, not only do we bring back seemingly superhuman capacities to thermoregulate, but it turns out it has far-reaching implications for our immune system, being able to identify toxic pathogens and fight it off, but without all the discomforts like chills, fever, fluish, headache, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, all these symptoms. It turns out we can minimize them or eliminate them while supercharging our immune system's ability to respond to pathogens and stressors through his method. The thing is, you have to be willing to put in the work, right? We all have decades and decades of being kind of too comfortable. We live in this environment that's so clean, that's perfectly thermoregulated, and so we've lost kind of like our innate wildness. And what Wim is showing is that we've actually gypped ourselves of some really important health benefits. Through the Wim Hof method, they're finding that you can supercharge your immune function and meet the challenges of these immune pathogenic stimuli without being thrown off your center with all these uncomfortable symptoms. But now there are studies being done where they observe when there's a new study that came out where they did an fMRI scan of his brain while they had him wear a bodysuit that has water pipes in it so they could crank up the heat and pump it full of hot water or pump it full of freezing cold water. And other control groups, people have these freak out stress reactions. And when Wim puts on the bodysuit, he goes into his meditative state, and they find that he can slightly elevate his core body temperature and then just stay there. Completely stable, completely balanced, while he's being exposed to this stimuli. So in some ways that shows us that this kind of like extreme health and extreme well-being, another definition of it is really having an ever-increasing comfort zone. That we can be totally comfortable amidst the extremeness that life throws at us. Whether it's extremely hot or extremely cold, we can adapt and harmonize with it, and it doesn't have to cause a stress reaction. other studies that are in the pipeline they're using as method to study how it affects depression, anxiety, bipolar patients, patients with rheumatoid arthritis, patients with severe and debilitating pain, and so on. So I'm super fascinated to see how through breath work and putting ourselves back into this situation where we have to learn to thermoregulate again, that as a side effect of that, a lot of beautiful ripple effects are possible. So stay tuned for really interesting, fascinating studies to come. So for the purpose of this call, I wanted to share with you what I think are the top 8 ways in which we can bring back the benefits of what I call full spectrum living. So number 1 is inspired by the Wim Hof method, is consider if your body is constantly in the perfect thermoregulated state with your external environment and you don't teach it how to adapt to hot or cold. Consider, when you look at the Wim Hof method, that you're missing out on some serious benefits. So I'm not a certified Wim Hof method instructor. I recommend you have a look at his website, lots of cool information there, but just start with not always controlling your temperature. For example, when you take a shower, turn it hot, turn it cold. See if you can get yourself to adapt to ever increasing different temperatures. When it's outside, if it's not going to kill you freezing cold, just see if you can use the breath to be comfortable in a greater range of environmental factors, right? So hot, cold is one. A second one that is huge in the Super Wellness book, I don't know if everybody on this call has read our epically awesome book, Super Wellness. If you have, you're aware of how important it is to expose ourselves to full natural spectrum of natural light during the day and complete darkness at night. Science has found that the full spectrum light has profound health benefits, and the problem is that when we're indoors in artificial LED lights all the time, that creates a certain biological effect that really messes up with our circadian rhythm. So your body is stimulated all day long, thinking it's roughly noon to 1 when you spend all that time in front of a bright screen. And then all of a sudden, you want to snap a finger and go to sleep at night. And your body is so confused. So all day long, you're flatlined, your physiology is being stimulated, thinking it's the brightest noontime sun, and you never experience that soft sunrise all the way up to noon, and then the gradual dimming of light all the way at night. We're missing out on that. So our psychology and our physiology is flatlined in this one state, and we don't experience the full spectrum, all the levels of consciousness, all the levels of physiological, cyclical patterns that's supposed to happen throughout a 24-hour cycle. The science is really clear on this, but I think you can be your own inner scientist when you just bring back natural light cycles in your life throughout the day. You'll notice a massive difference quite quickly, I think. Add to that, there's the different color spectrums of light. A lot of times the indoor lighting is missing the spectrum, like the whole rainbow spectrum that's outdoors when we get natural sunlight. When we're indoors, a lot of the fluorescence, if you analyze the color spectrum, is actually a narrow band that is just like the yellow and orange hues, and is missing the reds and the blues and purples. And that also has strange physiological effects that we should start to become aware of. And long term, human beings are getting sicker and sicker because we're not getting that health benefit from full spectrum light therapy that we could be getting if we go outside and experience natural sunlight. And everybody knows, of course, let me quiz you guys. What is the vitamin that is well known that's associated with sunshine? That's right, vitamin D. Everybody knows that vitamin D is critical for your immune system, for your bone health, for your ability to work with calcium, magnesium, and so on. It's one of the most potent anti-cancer substances that a human body can get if we are exposed to natural sunlight during the day. And a lot of people are suffering from high cholesterol. Did you know that in the presence of sunlight, your body converts cholesterol into vitamin D? Right? So in the presence of sunshine, your body converts cholesterol into vitamin D. So if you or your loved ones have high cholesterol, consider if they have a sunshine deficiency. Is it that they have too high of cholesterol or not enough sunshine? That's something to consider. Now, to be really specific, it is the UVB rays in sunshine that does that conversion from cholesterol to vitamin D. But sunshine also has UVA rays, UVC rays. Did you know that UVA rays is actually used to stimulate bone growth? For example, for astronauts coming back from space, they have osteoporosis a lot of times. You've probably heard about this. They use UVA rays to stimulate stronger bone growth. And did you know that UVC rays has powerful antimicrobial, antiviral, and antifungal properties? And so the sunlight has so much medicine in it that back in the 50s, there were a lot of doctors studying the different spectrums of light, different colors of light, and UVA, UVB, UVC, these different light spectrums. What does it do to help human beings heal and recover from diseases? The problem is, unlike pharmaceutical drugs, as you guys all know, especially if you've read the Super Wellness book, a lot of times what drives research and what drives our knowledge of health and wellness, unfortunately, is profits. So you can't really patent full spectrum light. You can't really patent just UVB light or UVA or UVC light. You can't patent blue light therapy or green light therapy or red light therapy because this just exists in nature. So there's no money to be made. Because of that, it kind of got squashed by the pharmaceutical industry over time. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just honest human being that's aware that our human nature is that our efforts go towards what is profitable. Right? The stuff that is free, easy, and abundantly available, we're never going to see a TV ad telling us to get non-burning sunlight during the day. You know, and it's not very expensive to get different kinds of light therapy devices that you can use to see if it helps with various discomforts that you're dealing with. You know, so as a result of that, a lot of that knowledge that used to be part of mainstream medicine, those doctors that were researching it over time, their efforts got squashed and got replaced by our focus kind of switch towards pharmaceutical medicines or more expensive, complicated procedures that have a lot of profits driving them. I think that's very understandable as part of our human nature, but as a consumer and as a patient, it's time for us to become aware. This is kind of a theme of the Super Wellness book and movement. It's like we need to bring back commonsensical living again. That some of the most potent and powerful self-healing tools out there are those totally simple, totally free, totally abundantly available ones. But they're so free and so available, nobody can make money off of them. And so a lot of times our attention has been kind of like programmed to focus on the complicated, expensive things. So it's time to bring our focus back. Is not that those complicated, expensive things aren't also valuable. It's just that we skip the fundamental things that we need as human beings to create a vibrant, healthy life, such as natural, full spectrum light during the day. You know, of course, it's possible. A lot of times we're like vampires. Most of us are indoors so much that a little light is like, ah, it's burning me, I'm a vampire. So please ease back into it. Please don't do something silly like you've been indoors for the last 5 months and haven't seen sunlight, and suddenly you go to Hawaii and lay in the sun all day, all night for a week. You are going to get burnt. So let's be gentle and let's gradually retrain our ability to live a more full spectrum natural life. So ease back into getting non-burning sunshine, just small quantities of it. Maybe in the mornings, go outside and admire the sunrise. In the middle of the day when it's really, really bright, and if you burn easily, maybe it's not that smart to go lay out in the sun, but you could go for a little walk from the office to the coffee shop or lunch and get a little bit of sunlight, right? In the afternoon was not quite so bright, maybe you'd like to take your work outside and just do work under the sunlight, as long as it doesn't burn you. And in the evening, do a little relaxing time, breathing in that nature, and enjoy a beautiful sunset. And just notice how these really, really simple things start to change your physiology, your mind, your emotions, and your spirit. Sometimes, can't emphasize this enough, sometimes the most beautiful, most potent, most powerful stuff of life is stuff like this that is completely free and abundantly available. So it's really time for us to bring back this kind of intuitive, commonsensical living again. Now on the flip side, at night, sleeping in complete darkness. So Jason said during the day, our bodies make vitamin D when exposed to sunshine. What about at night? Do you guys know when you're exposed to complete darkness, what is the substance your body makes that is also immune boosting, anti-inflammatory, and powerfully anti-cancer, and tons of health benefits? What is the substance that it makes? If you guess melatonin, you guess right. They've done studies where they've injected melatonin-rich blood into cancer cells, and the cancer cells shrinks right down. And how do we make melatonin? Well, we make it when we're exposed to complete darkness. But I learned very recently that the precursor to melatonin is made in your eyes during the day when you're exposed to full spectrum light first. And then at night, in the presence of complete darkness, it gets converted into melatonin. So this is a really important piece of full spectrum living that I cannot emphasize enough, so please write it down. That a huge part of full spectrum living is returning to nature's intended circadian rhythms. We human beings, we think that we're so smart that we can dominate nature. But we've been trying for a long time now. And we've gotten ourselves into all this trouble where chronic disease is skyrocketing. Something like 1 in 2 adult Americans might face a cancer diagnosis. I mean, it's just time for us to ask some serious questions about all these modern conveniences. Are they really serving us, Full spectrum sunlight during the day, we're missing out on the psychological and physiological benefits. We've just talked about that. Now, full darkness at night, if we don't make sufficient melatonin, we're also missing out hugely. Melatonin has broad spectrum anti-inflammatory properties. So if you're inflamed or in pain, if you have any chronic disease that's inflammation related, consider if you have a sunshine deficiency during the day and a darkness deficiency at night. Consider if that could be a game changer for you. And even more important from a psychological perspective, it turns out that when our bodies are saturated with melatonin at night, we also make something called DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which is a visionary molecule that helps us in dream time to have a visionary kind of clarity. So many of us know that if we're struggling with getting clarity in life, we talk about how important it is to, get still and go into darkness and have a good night's sleep. We say, okay, let me sleep on it. But are you sleeping in complete darkness? I even saw a research study, a psychological research study, that showed that when people struggle with making a decision, that participants report finding faster and deeper clarity when they do nothing but just dim the lights. It turns out when the lights are bright, it makes our psyche look externally. When we dim the lights, it makes it natural and easy for us to go within ourselves to find that deeper state of inner clarity. So if you're struggling with making a decision in your life and you really need to go deeply within, consider if you need to dim your lights or just make it a habit to sleep in complete darkness at night. In our Super Wellness book, we have a whole checklist of sleep hygiene tips that you can check out, of course, but just real briefly, I recommend all of my patients to start dimming the lights about 2 hours before bedtime. Absolutely no screen time 2 hours before bedtime, and start transitioning into maybe more like candlelight or something really dim that has more of an orangish hue to it. You can also wear those goofy blue light blocking glasses in the evening. That helps your psychology and your mind to start transition into that relaxed, sleepy state. And then, of course, sleeping for 8 hours in complete darkness. And even if you have insomnia and cannot fall asleep, it's good to remember that melatonin is produced when you're exposed to complete darkness. So asleep or not, just relax in a state of complete darkness so that you can bathe all of your cells in this powerful anti-inflammatory, immune-boosting, anti-cancer soup of medicine that is made for free. This powerful medicine that is made for free if you just allow yourself complete darkness at night. So full spectrum natural light during the day, complete darkness at night, returning to that natural circadian rhythm again. And I want to encourage you, when you bring back these simple practices in your life, notice if you feel like your life is stuck in a rut, when you just shift your physiology and your psychology from being in flatline indoor artificial light all day to that natural full spectrum light during the day and complete darkness at night, a lot of clarity is going to come to you. A lot of inspiration is going to come to you. You will move past that rut so much more easily, and you'll get quickly unstuck because that rhythmic cycle of your physiology gets turned back on again. A human being needs to live in these cycles, right? These rhythmic cycles. That's how our physiology was designed. And when we try to flatline it, in some ways flatline, that's where we really squash our life and we really start to limit ourselves. And I think a lot of us are missing out on that full spectrum life and we don't even know why. So experiment this week. Experiment with full spectrum light during the day and complete darkness at night. Experiment with getting yourself a little hotter, a little colder. Start adapting to the changing environments and bring back these rhythms again. What's a third very common thing that has us stuck in a rut? Well, I would contend that the third thing to look at is this thing called intermittent fasting. We went through a period as a society where it's just like everybody should eat 3 meals a day. And then later it was like, no, it's better to everybody to eat small snacks all day long. And now the science is very clear that we as human beings evolve, whether by choice or by force, to do intermittent fasting. It turns out a human being, when we eat, we have to put so much energy into the digestive process that there's less resources, less enzymes, less energy to do the tissue repair and healing process. So here's another thing. If you feel like you're chronically not feeling so great, chronically a little tired, chronically subpar in your vitality, could it be that you're eating too much and too frequently? Science shows that a really simple way to do intermittent fasting is what they call a 16-8, meaning in a 24-hour cycle, spend 16 hours not eating so your energy and resources of your body can go towards tissue repair, healing, and cleaning up. And then 8 hours a day, you're allowed to eat whatever you like. The science is quite definitive that there's massive benefits in terms of clearing out inflammation, anti-cancer again, immune boosting, on, really giving time for the body to clean up the debris and to repair and rebuild healthy tissue during those 16 hours of not eating. Another popular rhythm is to eat whatever you like throughout the week, but 1 day a week, complete water fast. That's called the eat, stop, eat, and I've been a huge fan of that rhythm also myself and seen great benefits. Another rhythm that's popular is called the 5-2, where you eat whatever you like 5 days a week, and 2 days a week you severely restrict your eating to maybe like 600 or 800 calories for 2 days out of the week. Whatever it is for you. The science is clear that most of us, especially modern Western people, especially Americans, we are chronically overeating. And some people argue that overeating is what's causing our body to not be able to heal and repair normally. And so we don't have the resources to clean up the sick cancer cells, to repair tissue damage, to heal and rebuild good tissue, and to clean out all the bad tissues. And when you don't do that for year after year, decade after decade, a lot of toxicity, sick cells, and inflammation starts to build up in your body, and that inflammation is really the source of so many of our modern diseases. So intermittent fasting, not chronically overeating, they've even found that it can youth our bodies. It stimulates our body to produce more youthful cells, and some people say maybe aging is a state of chronic overeating. So I invite you to find out. I don't know your individual circumstance. There are some people where fasting is medically not recommended. So as always, talk to your healthcare provider about all of these stuffs, right? But I think all of us just looking at, am I chronically overeating? What would happen if I just limit my eating to just 8 hours out of the day and just drink water the other 16 hours a day? Like, why not experiment? That's really such a safe practice. And I think within just a week of a practice like this, you'll start noticing really beneficial results. So talk with your healthcare provider, do some experimentation, and let your body show you what works for you and what doesn't work for you. These are the things that I think are really powerful self-care tools that are once again free, so easy. In fact, it's not only free, it might give you money back in your pocket because it costs money to buy all that groceries. So if you're eating a little bit less, that's going to dramatically decrease your grocery budgets. So the 3 things we talked about so far, hot, cold, light and darkness, eating too much. As a checklist, we're running out of time. I want you to consider some other places in which you're putting yourself in a situation where you're creating a rut for yourself. You're causing your life to be stuck in a rut. For example, are you chronically a little bit stressed out? Do you have relaxation practices? Right? We live in a society where everybody is like frazzled. It's become normal to be a little bit stressed out all the time, and we don't know how to chill out anymore. So are you chronically stressed out and you've forgotten how to relax? Is it time to bring back different practices, massage, music, relaxation, vacation? Is your life out of balance in terms of the level of chronic flatline level of stress? It's all right if you have cycles of stress. That stimulates us to grow and learn and become the best of ourselves. But if you're flatline, chronically in a high level of stress, we really need to ask some questions. It's probably not natural for a human being to be holding that kind of chronic high level of stress like most of us do in this society. So cycles, bring back those cycles again. cycles of stress, recovery, stress, recovery. In endurance sports training, I was a triathlete. I coached the SF Triathlon Club for many years, and I competed at a relatively high level as an amateur as a triathlete for about 12 years. In triathlons, they talk about periodization cycles. So they talk about how to stress your fitness, and then you have a recover week. So you stress, you train, you start to train harder, and then you have a week off. So build, recover. Build, recover. This is a beautiful analogy for all of life, right? We got to stress, and then chill out. Stress, chill out. And that's how we grow and learn and adapt and rebuild to the stimuli of life. If we're chronically overstimulated, there's no time to integrate. There's no time for our physiology and our mind and spirit to learn and grow from these experiences. So this is a really important analogy for all aspects of life, is to bring back healthy cycles of stress and recovery again. To not push yourself to be stress. If you want to be a high achiever, as I know you guys do because you're on this call, the secret to having a more successful, fulfilling, and high-achieving life is, for many of us, to chill the F out. Really. We push ourselves so hard, but we have to honor the recovery and the integration and that time to learn and grow from these experiences of life. So I want to honor you guys for taking that time to integrate and to learn and grow, and not just chronically be pushing ourselves. I know it's always with a good intention. You're always trying to serve your community in a bigger, better way. And I want to challenge you to consider that sometimes backing off allows you to serve in a much huger way. So cycles of stress and relaxation, cycles of movement and stillness, and cycles of where you're extroverted, looking at the outside world for stimuli, versus when you're introverted, looking deeply within yourself for answers. Have you thrown that out of balance? If you feel like your life is stuck in a rut, ask these questions. What else? Are you give all the time? Many of us who are healer types are really good at giving, but not very good at receiving. And if we don't receive, all of that is energy, right? Energy needs to flow in cycles too. So consider if for you, what's going to help you move to your next level is to receive more so that you can give in a much bigger way. A lot of people in our community, very high consciousness people who are healers and really trying to do good in the world. But one observation that I have that is very blunt, I'm sorry to say, is like, have you ever met a totally broke person that is scrounging and living week to week, month to month, that's able to make a huge impact in the world? I know this is like very non-PC for me to say, but if you have the intention to make a big impact in the world and to make the world a better place, then I think it's really important that we get our act together to learn both to receive and to give, to receive and to give, right? So money is just a symbol, an analogy of that. So consider all the places where you're not allowing the universe to come in with the support of resources, whether it's with love, with people, with relationships, with different kinds of resources, including money. Are you not receiving? And therefore, you're limiting your ability to give. Consider that. If you feel stuck at your certain level in your life, maybe your next level is to learn to receive so that you can give much huger next. And then what else? The final one is a huge one. Is, are you stuck in a rut because you're always overthinking and in your head? The secret to getting out of your head may not be more psychoanalysis, more processing in your head. Maybe it's time to get back in our bodies. So constantly being up here We're not grounded. We're not in the earth. We've forgotten we have these physical bodies. So consider if what helps you get unstuck is to get out of your head and get back in your body, which brings you back to the present moment, from which right action, inspiration, inner clarity often arises naturally. So there you have it. Those are the top places where I've noticed, I've learned after my own inner work and my own life experiences, just like you, I'm also learning and growing all the time, and also working with thousands of beautiful human beings just like you, people that are pioneers, that have really great hearts, a very high level of consciousness, that are here to serve their communities and the planet in a much bigger way. And what I've learned from all of you guys is that whenever we feel stuck in a rut, it may be because our society has trained us in these ways that kind of like dishonors nature's natural cycles from which we can thrive and expand into a much greater realm of possibilities. Number one, too hot, too cold. We never have thermoregulation anymore. So is that keeping your physiology in a rut? We're never outdoors in full spectrum light. We don't have complete darkness. So when we bring that back, what kind of magic could unfold? So hot, cold, light and darkness, intermittent fasting, cycles of eating and not eating. What kind of magic could unfold there? Also, extrovert, introvert, looking outside ourselves versus looking inside ourselves. Cycles of stress and recovery, cycles of movement and stillness, cycles of giving and receiving, and cycles of being in our head versus in our body and grounded into the earth. I hope that these gives you some inspiration and juicy ideas for ways in which you can bring back balanced cycles in your life so you don't feel stuck in a rut, that you move with life's natural cycles again and allow life to help you grow and expand and reach that next level of possibility in your life. I hope this call has served you. It's been so awesome to join together with you guys. Thank you guys. Bye-bye. Hi friends, did you love that interview? If you did, please leave a review and share with all your friends so that many more people can benefit from these game-changing insights. You can also go onto our website, dredithubuntu.com, and subscribe to our newsletter, where you'll receive free trainings and next-level ninja tools that we only share on our newsletter. Together, let's turn your life into a brilliant masterpiece.